Falco here. I'm fine.
This is Peppy. All systems go.
Flippy here. I'm okay.
I see him up ahead. Let's rock and roll.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 1997 Backies. This is our second go-around. We have so many categories. We have expanded. We have gotten bigger and better in 1997. And we have more things to talk about, more great games, and a movie category as well to throw in here. Some decisions to be made. If you listen to our past episode, we have a Lost World Jurassic Park debate that we need you to settle. But because we have more to get into, we have at least 5-6 categories still to get to for the 1997 Backies. For those of you that don't know and haven't heard the previous episode, Mike, how do we sort of explain what the Backies are here if anyone hasn't heard it?
Yeah, like we could give out video game awards of the year 2022, the year that we're in, the year of our Lord 2022. But we don't do that here on Back in My Day. That's what everyone else does. Instead, we go back 25 years and we give awards to the games that came out in 1997, the games that we're thankful for, the games that maybe have been forgotten about, and we make up fun, stupid categories. Some are legit and some are
stupid,
fun.
I would say important. I would say fun and important.
They're all important. Yeah, they're all important. So yeah, we did it for 1996. We're doing it for 1997, and it's just growing bigger and bigger. It's now 2 episodes in nice.
Eventually, it'll be our whole show. It'll just be
Backies.
Just Backies all day, every day. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to the first episode, if for whatever reason you're queuing into this one first, we have given out awards to the best N64 game with 64 in the title, best franchise starter, best follow-up sequel to an original title, worst game based on a movie, and like I mentioned, we have a category for best version of The Lost World Jurassic Park, and we also had the best game that would later become a blockbuster movie or show, and funniest or most ridiculous game title. So check that episode on your feet out on your feed, not feet. It's late.
Check it out on your feet and then let us know.
I mean, you know what? I don't know. Maybe you listen to your podcast with your feet. To each their own. It's all good.
By now, we've already determined our no prize victory for Jurassic World.
That's right. All right. So for this episode, we're going to get into the rest of our categories. We're going to get back into games here. This is the best arcade game you may have played somewhere else. It's a slight variation of what we did for 1996, but similar feel, similar look and feel. So the categories or the nominees are Mortal Kombat 4, Rampage World Tour, Cool Borders, and NFL Blitz. I have a distinct feeling this one could be difficult to sort of narrow down, but I think for me, as difficult as this is, Ian, you were mentioning last in the previous first part of the Backies that you were surprised that I didn't pick Rampage for one of the categories. I think I'm going to go with that here. It's hard to pick Rampage over Blitz because I do think that Blitz was like a huge thing for me, but Rampage World Tour, I have a lot of really fun memories, and one in particular where we played all 102, 110 levels, whatever it was. And it's a sequel, so it has fun other characters. You can play it with 3 other people, like a 4-player co-op thing. So I'm gonna go with Rampage World Tour because I played it on arcade, but I mostly played it on N64. So that's why I'm gonna go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and say NFL Blitz because definitely like this is the backy where it's like, okay, it debuted on one console or platform, but you found it somewhere else. And I think like for us, NFL Blitz, N64. I'm correct in that, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
definitely
what I was playing on.
Yeah.
I was also playing the arcade, but like, it was one of those fun ones on N64. We mentioned our love for like NHL hits. It was very much the same thing, but this kind of launched
midway crazy sports games. Yeah,
NFL Blitz for me was like, it was great because like, as much as I'd love to play Madden, sometimes like you want to play Mario Kart 64, not Gran Turismo. You want to play like, you know what I mean? You want to play like the fun arcade style game. You don't want to necessarily like sit there and do your playbook and like, get serious about it. You just want to like have some fun and do some hits.
Yeah,
So
do some
NFL Blitz,
do some hits
yeah.
with a Z
Yeah,
or Z.
exactly. NFL Blitz was a fun one.
NFL Blitz. All right,
Yeah.
Mike. This is a tough one, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really tough. And yeah, arcades in the 90s, you know, what a place to be. I'm gonna go with I think my heart is behind Mortal Kombat 4.
Okay.
But well, no, my head is behind Mortal Kombat 4, but my heart is behind NFL Blitz. Because I actually
Nice.
played that in the arcade and it was like, I don't know, playing a
It's
sports
fun in
game
the
in an
arcade.
arcade like that was like revolutionary. It was different for me
Yep.
at least. So
Yep.
I'm gonna go with NFL Blitz.
Nice. Well, I think it translated well in both in the arcade and at home. Like that was huge. I think it actually really worked, which like a sports game doesn't always work that way, but I think Blitz definitely made it. So all right, best arcade game you may have played somewhere else. We have NFL Blitz. Cue the applause.
That's good. That's good for NFL Blitz.
It is.
Happy.
Yeah. Good for you, NFL Blitz. All right, we're going to stick with sports. We're going to go to the NHL games. As the Canadians, we have to talk about NHL games. And we're going to go with best NHL game. Mike, I'm going to throw it to you in just a second.
Great
I'm going
category.
to go through the nominees here. We have NHL 98, which is the EA Sports version of it. NHL Breakaway, NHL Face-Off 98, NHL Power Play, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. Now, the reason I want to throw to you, Mike, is because you had sort of like a precursor to why like this category is sort of like a thing, right? Because
yeah, it's a category that only could be for old games. You couldn't have best NHL game in the year of our Lord 2022 because we've come to a point where only one game of our Lord has dominated every sport, right?
I love how we're preaching 1997 games as if we're going to determine what's hot. Like,
we're literally
1997.
preaching. Literally,
Yeah,
Mike
we're
is literally preaching.
So like back then in 97, we literally had 5 NHL games. 5, like I miss the days where you had multiple games in the same sport, right? Now we just
used to like 2 or 3, but 5 is excessive.
We have we have FIFA.
It is excessive.
Soccer.
You're right.
We have Madden, NFL. We have the NHL, EA. Like that's all you get, right? You get one each. You're stuck with one game. Back then, you had choice, you had variety, you had competition, which is good. So it's funny. It's funny to look back now and people look back now and think, oh, 5 NHL games came out in the same year. Like, how does that work? So, anyways,
and you can see that for maybe like NFL, but NHL is like it's not.
Yeah,
well, there was even more.
Right?
I picked NHL
soccer, you know, like
Canadian podcasts, and we love hockey, but there was even more NFL games than NHL games. So my vote is for Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I have a real soft spot for NHL 98, which I had on PC, which I loved. But I have even more of a soft spot for Gretzky's 3D hockey, and I think it's that
also you mentioned PC. A lot of these games you could play on PC, like the NHL. The fact that you had an NHL or a sports game on PC is just not a thing, and hasn't been for like 15 years. Like,
which is like, how do things go backwards? How do you have all these PC NHL games and then 25 years later have none? Like you step backwards. It makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those weird things.
That's why I'm going to jump in and say mine is NHL 98 for sure. I had it on PC. I thought it was a great game to play on PC. Like it was one of my go-to games. Just like it felt like the same games you play on console, but ported for PC. It was pretty good.
Yeah, they always did a good job. I mean, these are always games that I think me and Mike were talking about a little bit off air. It's like from 95-ish, maybe 96 to like 2001, 2002. If you got the EA ones, especially, like those were PC games at the time because they most of them, or at least some of them, at least the 97, 96, they couldn't be made for SNES or Genesis or even Saturn sometimes. Like eventually in 98, you could do PlayStation, you could do N64, you could do like all, you know, the sort of later consoles, but like these were PC games for me too, for sure. Like I had all of them from like 95 or 96 up until like 2000, 2001 that were all PC games, which is crazy because it just has been so long since that happened. But I'm going to reference Remember 64 again, guys. Sorry, I'm plugging my other shows. It's just, it is what it is. But I replayed Wayne Gretzky's.
It's a crossover event.
It's a crossover event that nobody asked for, but they're getting anyway. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. I played this back in the summer and replayed it for the first time in probably 24 years, 23 years. And it's still great. It's still really fun.
Nice.
It still works really, really well. So that's my vote, because a little bit of a recency bias, or at least revisiting bias. But I really, really realized, and I completely forgot, that is a super precursor to NHL Hits, which we've talked about before. And Hits are like probably my favorite NHL games of all time. And this has the same announcer. It has a very similar feel. It has a lot of crazy things going on, just like NFL Blitz does, because it's also a midway game. So yeah, my vote's going to go to Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. There are 2 of them on the N64. I played this one, and I thought it was still a blast and still lots of fun.
So I'm going to play the world's smallest violin for EA NHL NBA, because I think that that's Wayne Gretzky's another great choice. For me, it's just like, it wasn't the first EA title, but it was a great EA title, and obviously kept going every year. But it was important too, so I'm glad it got mentioned. Good choice though. And as we speak, the Leafs are going into OT. So as of this recording, so NHL,
there you go.
Boom, baby.
All right, so we have a couple of fun categories coming here. Now, this is, you could either call this the Old Man Award, or you can call it the Kids These Days Award, aka the best game franchise that has since been forgotten, or one that kids would have no idea what this is at this time. That is the very long title to this. So
it's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah. So this is sort of goofy. It's sort of a little like funny title and stuff, but these are all games, at least to me, that I think, when I put this together, that are franchises that people really enjoyed, or games that people really enjoyed, that if you mentioned, hey, did you play this? A kid nowadays, or have you heard of this, would have no idea what these are, or wouldn't even know what the game was, even if they didn't know what the title is. So the Kids These Days Award nominees go to Blast Corps, Klonoa, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I sort of included the whole series in there. Lost Vikings 2 and Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Those are our nominees. All of these are sort of dead franchises, essentially. That's sort of really the idea of this. So, Ian, I'm going to go to you first. Any direction you want to go in?
Yeah, that's it's a good question. I mean, the X-Men versus X-Men, X-Wing versus
X-Men versus TIE Fighter.
Can you imagine like all the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter just coming in? Like,
X-Men versus
all right,
just Wolverine jumping through space, slicing up TIE Fighters.
I think all you need is Wolverine. He'll just tear through an X-Wing. Or, sorry, a TIE Fighter. That's for sure.
Or Magneto just like grabbing all of them and just putting them into like one giant like ball of metal.
Now I won't.
Yeah, like I remember Power in the first annual back, as you mentioned the X-Men game, so maybe that's
X-Men versus Street Fighter.
But,
yeah.
So X-Men versus TIE Fighter. No, I'm just kidding. My actual choice is going to be, it's tough, but Turok Dinosaur Hunter, because basically, like, I don't even remember it being the best game. Like, I remember pouring a lot of time into this game and being pretty confused by it at first. And it was something that, like, it was a different sort of game than what you're used to on N64. There was a lot of similarities.
The
to
controls
other
were weird.
But, like,
that's all I remember.
Yeah, it was interesting, but I remember pouring a lot of time into it, and being forced to play it at friends' houses and stuff. And like, it's what, regardless of whether you think it's a good or bad game, it for me like gets the backy for this conversation, just because like you're definitely not playing Turok these days.
Dave, I want to hear what Dave says next.
Yeah, so I have experience with 2 of these games. Once again, guys, sorry, the crossover event continues. The reason why I included Blast Corps, and especially Blast Corps, I think it's a very forgotten game, but I just played that within the last month. And I also replayed Turok for Remember 64 as well. I played both of these games this year.
So as you move through the level, there are different like zones in each level, and so there's like the outside jungle area, and the underwater has its own like environment and music. And once you go into caves, it has its own environment and music and stuff. And once I would go into the cave and see the little monsters jumping around and the music gets scarier, I would always stop playing. Like I didn't want to go into the cave. I thought the cave was way too scary. So I was that
fair
young.
enough.
Like I couldn't do it. I had to watch.
Fair enough.
I had to watch either my dad or my stepdad get through. It was probably my dad. As soon as I got through that cave the first time, it was just I just blew the doors open. It was so fun.
Actually, I want to talk about that because you're talking about the caves, the different stages and stuff. The level design was actually something that I did not comprehend at the time, and you're not thinking about that stuff when you're younger, right? That's never anything that's really top of mind. Oh, this is fun, this is cool. Like that's really as far as it goes. And now with so much experience with games and comparing the old ones to new ones and all that type of stuff, like it's a very ambitious way to make a first person shooter. I think that's what I felt. I felt like it was unique, and every level felt pretty big. And yes, Mike, you're right. Turok does have some funky controls because you're using the D-pad and the C buttons to walk around and look around, which is so funky and weird nowadays because we're used to dual joysticks, right? But that's how they did it on the 64.
For this game, at least, yeah.
Yeah, for that game at least, yeah, exactly. But Turok is actually a cool choice because I think they could really do something with that. And there was definitely sequels. There was like 4 of them or something. They were also on Game Boy. I have Turok 2 on Game Boy for some reason. It's not great, but I tried that out when I replayed this one, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just going to go back to the 64 version. This is not very good. But I want to. It's hard because I want to go with like 3 of these at least, but I think the one that could use the most updating and would probably thrive is Turok as well. I think I'm going to go with Turok because I think
it's a good choice.
Yeah, I think Blast Corps would be cool because they could definitely expand upon it and do something different, because really that game is just you're all these different kind of funky mechs and machines just knocking down buildings. That's all it is.
I'm going to say Turok too. I'm going to say Turok as well because
unanimous.
It could be really good, like a game where you're a first-person shooter fighting dinosaurs. Like that has so much potential to be remade into something awesome, and it's definitely a game that everyone from the 90s remembers. Even if you didn't play it, everyone knows that game. That
at least the first couple, like for sure.
Yeah, on N64, like everyone knows what you're talking about, the dinosaur shooter game. But yeah, if you told kids these days, there's no way how would they know what Turok is, right? But it was synonymous with dinosaur shooter. Back when I was growing up, everyone knew that Turok was that, whether you played it or not. I don't know if it had a good marketing campaign or if it just had good word of mouth or whatever, because I barely played it. I rented it once probably. But I still know it as that dinosaur shooter game.
I played these a lot. I owned the first or second one, and then I played for the first or second one at a friend's place. We always played the multiplayer. Again, it was another like first person shooter that had multiplayer on 64, like just arena shooter type thing, but it had crazy guns, like all these wild things that it came up with. The sort of idea of you also, shooting people, but also dinosaurs, and sort of this mix of time travel and stuff. Like you could really go crazy, and just updating controls and visuals alone could be something cool. Like they have a remastered or like remastered version or something, or sort of updated version. You can buy it on Steam. It's like, $5 or something like that for this and the second one and whatever. But it's still the same game. So you could play with your mouse and keyboard, or you could play with your joysticks, but like to update it and really like relaunch Turok would be
cool.
So crazy. And I really don't think, I think you're right. I think if you said there was this shooter where there was like this native person that was running around mini arenas and shooting soldiers and dinosaurs, kids would be like, wait, what?
Yeah,
that sounds awesome. And it was great.
You know what? That would make.
I think I got to go with Turok. I think that's what we got to go for, boys. I think it's
all right.
A solid
one.
It's that would make for a great open world game, right? Like it just
yes, it could be open world, or it could be sort of like God of War, where it's sort of like a hub world. You're sort of in this area, then you're in that area, like maybe different time zones or time.
When you were talking about it, Dave, I thought about like Prey, how Prey adapt to a video game. That would be insane to play a Prey video game.
If Prey was a game, and like call it Prey Predator Hunter, You know, like it would work. Exactly.
Hooray, Predator Hunter.
I will say
It's actually the
Another
perfect
Backie.
title for it.
yeah, right. I will say Lost Vikings 2 would be kind of cool because Lost Vikings is sort of a Blizzard franchise that was on Super Nintendo in like the early days of consoles and PC, and it's essentially a puzzle game with 3 different characters. They all have different abilities and stuff. I think you could sort of basically make the same type of 2D puzzle game like that with like nicer visuals, or at least whatever.
Maybe you could do a mobile game with it.
You could do a mobile game with it. They're fun characters. Like I played them a lot. I didn't play them because they were very difficult to play as, but I played against them or with them on the same team with the MOBA of Heroes of the Storm, because they are a Blizzard set of characters, and they were in that game as characters, and they were fun. They're super goofy. They're very cartoony. Like you can have a lot of fun with that nowadays, and kids would have no idea what they are because they haven't been around for, I think, 25 years. I think it was the last time they had a game was this. So that could be something too. But the Backie for the Kids These Days award, aka the best gamer franchise that has since been forgotten and that kids would have no idea what it is, goes to Turok Dinosaur.
Good choice.
All right.
Golf clap for Turok.
Okay, next up, the game most likely to be featured on The Simpsons in place of Lee Carvallo's putting challenge, which I hope.
Great category.
I don't know where I came up with this last time, but I was like, this is great. I got to do this again. I think I looked up like sports games.
It was that random fishing game that sparked your memory.
Yeah,
You want to know
fishing
something
game.
funny? Like over Christmas, I've been watching a lot of Christmas-themed Simpsons episodes, and
Yes.
the Lee Carvallo one is on one of the Christmas
Right.
episodes, which
Gets it for
popped up
Christmas.
this year, and I was like, "This is perfect! Like, this is great for back."
Amazing.
Yeah,
For
exactly. So these are all sports games. Some of them good, some of them not so much. But the nominees are Shane Warne Cricket, Winning Spike arcade game, All-Star Baseball 97 featuring Frank Thomas, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98, which is making a reappearance. So this is, I think this isn't like let's award the best game, because I think we would just give it to Gretzky. I feel like
that's not what it's about.
do.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost in a way that's just being eliminated.
Yeah. It's about capturing the energy of the Lee Carvallo putting challenge.
Welcome to Lee Carvallo's Putting Challenge. I am Carvallo. Now choose a club. You have chosen a 3-wood. May I suggest a putter? 3-wood. Now enter the force of your swing. I suggest feathered touch. You have entered power drive. Now push 7, 8, 7 to swing.
I think there's a clear winner. You guys might agree with me, but I think Shane Warne Cricket. Okay, it's a random name and a random sport. Like Lee Carvallo's putting challenge is funny because it's random name and random sport, golf.
It's a slow sport, and it's supposed to be for like this 8-year-old kid,
Random
like somehow
person I never heard of, and it's cricket, right? So that makes it hilarious. So I think that's my choice. I don't know if you guys will have anything else to say, but that's my choice.
What's funny is that like it's not like and Winning Spike, I should say, is a volleyball game. It's 2 teams against each other. It's international volleyball. It's an arcade game. I looked up the visuals of it. It's actually kind of cool, like the sort of motion capture that they did with it. Sort of like the graphics on it are they're not terrible. But Shane Warne Cricket, I looked it up on YouTube and I pressed play on a couple of videos, and the reason why this needs to win, whether you guys were to vote for this or not, is that the announcer in the presentation is so similar to what Lee Carvallo has in the
nice.
that it is so perfect that it needs to win. Just because
You've selected power drive.
The fielder isn't going to stop that. 6. Well, that's a cracking shot. That's beaten the fielder to the fence. It's in the air and 6.
I don't think the captain will be too pleased with his bowlers.
yeah. Like it's not that cricket is a nothing sport. It's huge. People love it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not huge where we are necessarily, at least for us specifically.
There's actually a cricket club in Toronto down the street from
There's
where I grew
literally
up.
there was a cricket club, a Canadian cricket club that I could walk to in 15 minutes from where I grew up as a kid. And
Yeah,
it's only
but
about 20-minute
golf
drive
is
from me.
also
But
huge, and on
golf
every
is also
corner.
huge. There's
But
also
the
a
fact-
golf course
but
that I could walk to from my
it's
house now.
Yeah, it's a
But
random thing to be a video
it's
game.
just
right?
random.
That's the part.
It's
that's
random,
funny.
and the announcing is just it's so has such a low energy and is just so ridiculous. It's just like, all right. And also
Yeah.
cricket's a tough game to translate into a video game because there's so much going on in it. So
I think you both sold me. I think Shane Warne's probably where I'm leaning as well.
It's gotta be it,
Cricket
right?
Challenge or whatever it is. Yeah, he's taking the cake.
Shane Warne takes it home.
Shane Warne, God rest his soul, because I just looked it up and he's not with us anymore, but he will live
Hey,
on.
he put his name out there.
Yeah,
It's
he
out
will
there
live on
forever.
because he's now immortalized with the Backy.
With the Backy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Same
also
with Mark David.
also Shane Wright Shane Warne had more than one game, so you're a big deal the second you put your name on more than one game. So
Yeah,
there was a 98 version, there's a 99, like that's, I mean, hey, it's a big deal. Just
He's
because
the
we don't
Wayne
know.
Gretzky of cricket.
He's the Wayne
There you
Gretzky
go.
of cricket. Exactly. All right, so the game most likely to be featured on The Simpsons in place of Lee Carvallo's putting challenge, Shane Warne cricket. All right, guys, we have one last one to get to. This is going to move off of video games, and this is going to go into the movie category. We talked a little bit about previously about games that were based on movies or games that had tie-ins to movies or TV shows, but this is going to tie into some episodes that we've done over the course of the last 12 months. And this is super fun because we have 6 movies to talk about. They all came out in 1997, for better or for worse. We saw all of them, and it is the best twin movie battles of 1997. Ian, I'm going to let you take the reins on this one because this was your idea here, and I absolutely love it. Go for it, sir.
All right, guys, this is an interesting category. It's been an interesting Backies ceremony, and I think the important thing to note is that we've had the general theme of 1997 running through our episodes this year, and it's popped in and out with our reviews and whatnot. And I think from what I can gather, you don't know what we're gonna hit you with the Backies, whether it's gonna be a no prize, whether it's gonna be something we're celebrating, whether it's gonna be something that is the worst of all of its category. Either
There's
way,
no
you're getting a
flow
Backies
to the show. It's just sort of like, let's just do
well,
whatever.
I'll stop you right there. I think the through line that I've noticed is that it's stuff we like to talk about. So that's basically
That's true.
where we're at with this. And this is why I'm going to try and sway you right off the top with my best battle for twin movies in 1997. We have Spawn, Batman and Robin. We have Jungle to Jungle, George of the Jungle. And we have Volcano, Dante's Peak. I think for me, Volcano and Dante's Peak are serviceable action movies and are kind of in the category of like you could debate which one's better for that year. But Spawn and Batman and Robin is gonna be my choice, with the bonus of adding Steel in there as making it a trifecta for superhero movies competing for the worst superhero movies of 1997, and therefore their battle is the most epic. And I think whether you like Spawn or hate Spawn, whether you like Batman and Robin or hate it, they're both competing for some interesting superhero movies of 1997, and we've reviewed both of them on this show.
Yes.
Which is why I think the Backy should go to Spawn and
Oh
Batman.
my God,
and
we
Robin.
did review both those.
Both of them this year.
And
check
I'm
out
going
those
on record
episodes.
to say I want to win the summer movie wagers so that I can ensure we don't ever watch Steel, because I have a feeling that like that's something Dave would do to us if he were to win again.
Yeah, Dave's
stop
choices
saying
are
stop saying
notorious.
Steel, because I'm going to
Stop giving
remember
him
it and then
ideas.
choose
Yeah.
it.
So Spawn and Batman and Robin, I mean, we have episodes on them covered this in the
Yes.
past year, and we've been talking about a lot of 1997 films, some of them good like Fifth Element, some of them bad like Spawn and Batman and Robin. So that's what I'm nominating for the Backy for
I like it. Mike, I'm gonna go to
Battle
you
of
next.
the Twin Movies.
Yeah,
Oh, it's a
Battle of
great
the
idea.
Twins.
The concept of to talk about the concept of twin movies. Okay, this is the concept and the idea where two similar movies come out with basically the same premise in the same year. And I feel like this started happening in the 90s. And I feel like people always give the same examples. They go Deep Impact and Armageddon, and then they say Dante's Peak and Volcano.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why I have to go with Dante's Peak and Volcano. And the idea behind the twin movies thing is that it's a phenomenon that you see happen. And it does happen a lot. Like there was 2 Jungle Book movies that came out 2 years ago. There was Avatar: Way of Water this year and Black Panther with Namor. It's like these weird there's these weird things that happen where these movies that are like identical. There's 2
Pinocchio movies this year, or 3.
And
Yeah,
someone has said the theory behind it is that sort of the studios kind of hear the other studios making it, and it kind of like forces the other studio's hand, and they kind of rush to get their movies out, right? They have sort of movies in the making, and they sit on it for years, and it's the other studio's making this movie. So
yeah.
So you can see it why it kind of happens, but people always point back to these years in the 90s. I feel like it started in the 90s. That's this twin movie phenomenon, and I have to give it to Dante's Peak and Inferno because it's sort of the classic example of the twin movie, right? That's why I have to go to it.
I think that's why I was leaning towards that too, is because that is Volcano and Dante's Peak are exactly, to me, what it seems like everybody refers to, because not only that, some people get mixed up as to which one's which.
Yeah,
you know, it's sort of that like effect of like, and I don't think you can mix up. I mean, maybe Jungle to Jungle and George of the Jungle, maybe just because of the title, but like Spawn is Spawn and Batman and Robin is Batman and Robin. They're 2 very different movies because of just the way they're presented.
Yeah,
I do.
But it
agree,
reminds
though,
me of when studios were pushing, like even recently, like with Civil War and Batman vs Superman, like studios pushing that superhero film that's gonna really break, like, break the mold.
You had Civil War and you had Batman vs Superman. Like it's happening more and more these days. I feel like. I can't even think on the top of my head, but I'm sure if you were to look it up, it'd be a lot more common in the late 2000s, 2010s than even the 90s.
They're running out of ideas, man. They're running out of, it started in 97 or it started in 95, whatever year.
Or Armageddon and Deep
and
Impact,
it's just gotten worse. And it's just gotten worse from there. So I think you're right.
I agree.
But I'm going to go Volcano and Dante's Peak for the exact reasons that you gave, Mike, because I think you said it really well. So I'll sort of leave it at that. And I do remember at the time in enjoying both these movies. I do.
Yeah, no, it's a good choice.
They're good.
Like I mentioned them up top, but at the same time, like I tried to give it back to Batman and Robin on the show, and it's fine.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch,
Didn't
friend.
work out,
Not on my watch.
Listeners, I tried. I had fun doing those episodes, so that's why I tried to.
Sorry, Mike, you're breaking up.
Yeah,
what was that, Mike? What?
But I think you're absolutely right. Volcano and Dante's Peak deserve to be in the conversation because they're one of the originators, along with Armageddon and what was it? Deep Impact? Yeah. So
Deep Impact.
Who remembers that other one?
Example.
But that's the thing about Dante's Peak and Volcano. I think they're more so in the conversation than Armageddon because they were close in quality. It's not like you had one and then you had another, and
that's
it's
true.
Very
true.
Clear which is the winner. In this one, it's like, okay, and in the same respect, Spawn and Batman and Robin.
Spawn and Batman. I was going to say Spawn and Batman and Robin.
It's up in the air.
That's just not the classic example people give, so it doesn't string. But I will be interested. I really want to keep this category going, and I want to see if next year we can find twin movies in 98. The year after that, we can find twin movies in 99. I really want to see how far we can keep this category going. It's a really good idea. It's really fun.
I don't want to do the research, so Ian, this one's on you.
Yeah, that's on you. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
All right, the first Backie to a movie, because this is the first like strictly movie category, goes to Volcano / Dante's Peak. So, like you said, Mike, golf clap.
I already secretly awarded the Lost World Jurassic Park a Backie before.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the 1997 Backies, gentlemen, this is great. Cheers again as we end our second go around for the Backies for 97.
We had some great Backies this year.
It was honestly, it's fantastic. More categories, the better. Next year, we're going to keep getting bigger and better. Jeff Keighley's going to have to give us a call and sort of up his game next December, because it's just sorry, man. So, fellow Canadian, he's fallen behind. He's fallen behind, guys.
Yeah. I must say, I'm just proud that we were able to give Heroes of Might and Magic 2 a Backie, because I think that franchise is very special to me and evidently to Power as well. And I even mentioned it on my first episode back in my day, episode 25. I mentioned Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and that just goes to show you, like, this is why we do the Backies. It's things we want to talk about, games we want to talk about from our childhood. So
it's because we have no time to play well, at least me. I have no time to do these things now, so I'm just living in the past, basically. Back when I used to have time to have fun.
Living in in the past.
Good point.
In the past. My memories are fun. My life now sucks.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Essentially, that's what it is.
Being an adult is overrated.
Don't grow up, kids.
Well, our
Don't grow
gracious
up.
host Dave is having a lot of fun reviewing games, so I don't know. It's not all bad.
I'm reviewing new stuff, but I'm also reviewing these 64 games. So I'm going back and forth. Exactly. So okay, so 2023 is here. Somehow 25 years ago was 1998, so we have 1998 stuff to go through now. There's no Spawn to go back to, there's no Batman and Robin, but there's other things we're going to get to, and for better or for worse, we're going to start looking through 1998 games and movies, so look forward to that going forward. Until that time, Mike, where's everyone following our stuff online?
So find us on basically all the social media apps at Day Back In. The best place to follow us is on Patreon, patreon.com/backinmyday. And the podcast is called Back in My Day. Find us on basically all of the podcast apps, Spotify, Apple, Google, Overwatch.
Overwatch?
Is that what it's called?
Overcast?
Overcast.
Overcast. That's it. Overcast. I mean, I play Overwatch too. I like it.
Find us playing Overwatch.
You can find us playing Overwatch as well.
Down in the bronze leagues. But yeah,
down in the bronze leagues.
I want to jump in and thank our listeners once again because we're nearing 150 episodes of Back in My Day. And when we hit 100, we did a movies discussion with a bracket and everything. And we also did a games discussion. So you got to go back and check that one out because it might feature one of our favorite games of all time from 1997.
Yes.
Pew
you're
pew.
Right. You're right.
Boom, boom.
For sure.
Yeah. So we really appreciate everyone listening, and hit us with those 5-star reviews on whatever you're listening to. That really helps. Leave us a little review. Also, that helps. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sticking with us. Our inconsistent schedules are not the most convenient, but you know what? Life happens, shit happens, and that's really what the last 3 years are all about. Shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see you on the other side, and happy 2022 and 23. We'll talk to everybody soon. Bye.
Merry New Year.
Please play the ride out music of just like GoldenEye 007. Just like music, just like